Hello, Davinia.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How are you?
I am good, thank you.
Very good. So I'm Geneviève. I am in Montreal at the moment. And
Hmm.
as you know, we wanted to speak with you because you are so inspiring. And we have questions for you. And
Okay.
but let me introduce you first to our students. Okay. So today, we are welcoming you to our Women of Courage series of interviews with exceptional women. And today we have the chance, the honor to speak with Davinia James Stewart. Davinia stems from the island of wood and water, known to many as the jewel of the Caribbean. Simply, we call it Jamaica. Davinia
Yeah.
uses her story and passion to change the life of girls in developing countries. So she has collected 2.5 pennies and have sent over 500 girls to school in Haiti, Cambodia, Nepal, Peru, Afghanistan, Egypt, Ethiopia, Sierre Leone, India, Nigeria, many, many places all over the world. In her work, she has collaborated with nonprofit Hope and Dreams initiatives and was approved by Johnson & Johnson to use their Caring Crowd platform to provide pads for Nigerian girls who are missing from classrooms because of their period. In addition, the project aimed to build wash libraries for schools and its community where students and public are being taught the importance of water and of safe sanitation practices. In February 2020, she traveled to the Philippines for her Pennies4Girls Project with friends and her husband to help send youth to school via nonprofit Young Focus, who are based in Tondo, Manila. She also has her eyes fixated on Jamaica for upcoming projects. Davinia's goal is to help end poverty by providing education opportunities to those in poverty and lacking resources. So welcome again, Davinia. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Of
So,
course, it's truly an honor.
yes, why is it important for you to talk with young people today?
So I believe that hope is lined in the work that young people do, and they're the next generation. I feel that once we have gone, then they take over, and it's like a domino effect that you keep inspiring them to follow their dreams and to do what they can do. And oops, sorry about that. In order
Okay.
to help make the world a better place.
Very good. So let's
Mhm.
start with the questions, okay? They are from
Okay.
Coverdale Catholic School in Surrey, BC. And students will take turns asking questions.
Hmm.
So let's start with question number one.
Nice and loud. Who's number one? Nice and loud. Yeah, take your mask off. Yeah.
Hi, I was wondering if you could tell us about your upbringing, your journey of life that led you to Maryland, USA.
Of course. Oh, is that the full question? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
Oh, and about your family.
Okay. So I was born in Jamaica to a teenage mom that had three children. At 3 months old, I became very ill, and a community activist took me in. She was the same person that would hide and send my mom to school. And just thinking about that, I'm sure you guys have questions like, why was she hiding and sending my mom to school? Up to this very day, I still have that question. My biological mom's mother just didn't see the importance of sending kids to school. And so she wouldn't send her children to school. But the lady that took me in knew the value of an education, and she would hide and send my mom to school. So my mom left me in the care of her for 11 years because she had moved to the capital of Jamaica, which is Kingston, which is the city, to find jobs that would offer her the opportunity and the ability to take care of me and my brothers. And so I spent 11 years living with this activist and her husband, and they pretty much raised me for 11 years. And they made sure I went to school. I was never missing from school. They ensured that I had everything at my disposal. I didn't have to worry about anything. And so after that lady died, my mom thought it was in my best interest to now to come and live with her. Even though the lady husband wanted to still care for me, he was willing to hire a nanny and do all this stuff. But my mom thought that because I was now becoming a teenager, she think that the best thing for me to do was to be around her. And so I went to live with my mom, but would occasionally on holidays go back to see this the lady that raised me, her husband. I called him Uncle Fred. So I would go back to see him on holidays and stuff. But let's remind you that where I was raised for 11 years, I was sheltered. I didn't know that poverty and violence existed until I went to go live with my mom. And I remember my first incidents just walking with her, and like I heard like popping sounds, and I'm like, what's that? And for her, she's like, get on the floor. It's like, lay on the floor. Like we're walking in the street. And she said, yes, you have to lay on the floor because there were gunshots and you didn't know where they were coming from. So it wasn't best for you to run. The best thing for you was to lay on the floor until it was over. And for me, that was new. It was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And then where we were living was also referred to as the ghetto. It's still referred as the ghetto, which is the impoverished areas in Jamaica. And I remember I'm at school, and being a girl, I was never allowed to go anywhere by myself. My mother, as always, said that your brothers are your soldiers. And so my mom couldn't come and get me from school one day, and one of my brothers came. And I remember walking home, he's holding my hand, but in the far distance, I could see a guy with a gun. And for me, that was puzzling. I was like, what's going on? And the closer that he got, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a huge gun. What is happening? And my brother held on to me tight, and he's like, kept walking. And so the guy came up, he put the gun on my brother's chest, and my brother said to me, run. And for me, it's like, why am I running? I'm not running. You mean like we should both run? And he's like, no, screaming at me, run. And I could tell by that scream that something was wrong. And so I ran to my mom screaming, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. And she's asking, where's your brother? It's like, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. And it was the very first time I saw my mom in superwoman mode, where she went to where my brother was, and the guy still had the gun on my brother's chest. And she took it off him, placing it on her, saying that if you want him, you're going to have to go through me. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is how we're all just going to die, because I've never seen anything like this. I've never experienced anything like this. So for me, it was very shocking. And I'm not sure what came over the guy, but he took the gun off my mother's chest and just walked away. And at that point, my mom said, we're moving. She got a van and she's packing all her stuff in there. It's like, where are we moving to? And at the time, I had an aunt that was living probably 20 minutes away. And she was also living in the ghetto, but they said that it was less violent. And let me tell you, it wasn't, because I witnessed the death of my friend Johnny, and I never told anyone about it. Because when it comes to impoverished areas or developing countries, violence could be a thing that is not candy. Violence is scary. And growing up in a developing country, you're like, someone doesn't easily solve issues just by, oh, let's just go talk about it. It was more about retaliation. And I knew that. And I didn't want my brothers or my cousins or another friend to get hurt. So I said nothing. And I said nothing until years later when I gave my first speech. And my brother was in that audience. And I remember him coming to me and said, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, I know. And so during all of that, I knew that education would have been my way out. My mother, as always, stressed about the importance of education and how she wished she had a good education because she felt like there was so many stuff that she wanted to do, but she couldn't do. And so that was always in the back of my head. And for me, it was more about, okay, I have to take my schoolwork very seriously. I went to school when there were gang violence outside, when there was storm outside. I rather go to the school, the gates are closed, and then I was like, okay, there's no school, and then I would turn and go back home. And so, while I was in high school, my mom migrated, and then years later, I learned about her having breast cancer, and I really didn't know what that was. And another issue is the fact that when it came to illness, no one really talked to kids about it. And so we were left in the dark. And I remember her doctor saying something about it's on her left side. And the only thing I could think about is her heart. And I was like, oh my gosh, if her heart doesn't work, then she's, going to die. And for me, that was something very hard, but I'm able to flip whatever is labeled as negative into something positive or something that pushes me to do better for myself. And so I was able to just overcome the fact that, okay, my mom has an illness and she's actually not going to die. And I remember being reunited with my mom after years and years of not seeing her. And what was very interesting for me is the fact that I can remember coming to the US, being at the airport, remembering that her best friend was there, but at the time didn't know that her best friend would come my adopted mom. And then I also remember seeing my mom, but not the mom that I'm used to seeing. She was very small. She had short hair. And for me, that was shocking because I'm like, wow, you sound the same over the phone, but you look totally different. And I was fortunate enough to spend 2 years with her. After her cancer was in remission for years, it came and claimed her life. I felt cheated. I was angry at the world. But on her dying bed, her best friend and her husband was there. And she said, you don't have to worry. You have Jen. And I'm screaming, saying, she's not my mom. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want you to die. But then my adopted parents never held that moment against me. And I felt like when the world had walked out of my life, they had walked in and they never stopped. They are the reason why I am the first one out of my family to graduate college. They're the one that sent me to school. And I felt like a lot of the things that I do is somehow stemmed through them.
Wow. Thank you for speaking with such an open heart. And that makes us understand why you felt like helping young people around the world. So our young global citizens are very happy to have the chance to talk with you today. And we will take another question.
Who's number 2? Okay.
Hi, my question is, what led you to found Pennies for Girls, and what led you to embrace girls' education rights as a life mission?
Great question. So I feel like my life story is a foundation behind everything that I do. But in order for me to find my passion, I felt like I had to go through my experiences. And the very first thing that literally tapped me on the shoulder and be like, hey, this is what you should be doing, is when my adopted parents brought me to see the film Girl Rising. I've never heard of it before. I was intrigued by it. And then I remember right after watching the film, I was moved. So Girl Rising is a film and also now a movement, but the film's about 9 girls from different parts of the world that are going through things that girls should never have to go through. They are deprived of an education. They're being sold, like all these struggle girls are facing. And I could relate to the girls in this film, being a girl from a developing country. And I remember leaving the movie theater and I turned to my dad and I said, oh my gosh, that dad from India reminds me so much of you, because my dad is so supportive of my passion and everything that I want to do. It's more like, okay, you want to do it? Fine, let's do it. Even if it's unsuccessful, he's like, at least you tried. And that's one of the things that I love about my parents. But also my dad said, oh my gosh, that girl from Sierre Leone reminds me so much of you, because you're so positive and you don't only put that out there, you model that. And I remember saying, I want to do something. I had no idea what that was. And I remember one day just going through my purse and I saw all these pennies. And I'm sure, kids, you could relate to the fact that, like, when you're watching cartoons, a light bulb literally go off. Someone said, that's exactly what happened to me. And I said, oh, I'm going to use pennies to send girls to school. And I remember just sharing the idea with my parents and friends, and they were like, why pennies? And I said, people are so skeptical about donating, which is totally understandable, because when it comes to my pennies, I don't play. Transparency is very important to me. So I take the time out to research which organization I'm going to work with, because then I need them to offer me that transparency about, you know, what this penny is doing, who is it going to, and then them reporting to me on how the child or children is doing. And so it was more about, okay, people are skeptical about donating. Two, once you give a girl the opportunity to become educated, you're not just educating her, you're educating those around her, because she's influencing those people. And third, you give her the opportunity to impact her community and her village or her city or wherever she is. And then fourth and final, you give her the opportunity to change the world. And then they will ask, how do I know that? And I will respond, I'm the living proof of that. And I think with what I do, it's because everything just resonates. And so it's more about, okay, my life story is a foundation of what I do. Seeing the film Girl Rising triggered something within me that brought me to Pennies for Girls. And what is it that I do? When I started, everyone thought I was crazy. I started with a handful of pennies. Then I had 500,000 pennies. And then I had 600,000 pennies, because I was asking everybody that I saw. I went to my social media network. I asked everybody, like no one was off limits. And then before you know it, there were companies that wanting to help. And then it was 1 million, 1.5, 2 million, and now 2.5. And so just following my passion, or I like to say the song that's in my heart, has led me to where I am today.
It's wonderful. It's so inspiring. How do usually people give you the pennies? If we have pennies, how do we send them to you, to your organization? How can we do it?
So I have had people mailed me pennies. I have had people do it through PayPal. Like nothing is off limits. They send me an email and we just figure it out.
Great. Okay, yeah. So now we have a third question, still from Cloverdale Catholic School in Surrey, BC. So question number 3 now.
Hi, can you tell us some of your favorite things you got to do as part of your activism, and how did it change you?
So I will say my favorite thing about activism is meeting like-minded people like myself. I have met some amazing people in this world that are creating change in their own way. I will say one of my highlights is not only meeting, but speaking to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I'm sure you guys know who that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Theresa May, Emmanuel Macron, about the importance of an education and what it meant to me. Also, I had the honor of having Hugh Jackman come up to me, saying my name, had no idea he knew of me, just reminding me that whatever is it that I do, I should not stop doing because the world needs it.
Great, wonderful. So we are ready for question number 4, please.
Hi. So I just wanted to introduce my student, Ariana. I have a little bit of feedback. We are a French immersion school. So her question will be in French first and then in English.
Okay.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Ariana et je suis une élève à le collège de Sullivan Middle School dans la Caroline du Sud aux États-Unis. Nous sommes dans un programme d'immersion française, donc nos questions seront en français et puis en anglais. Quels sont les pays dans lesquels vous...
Can you remove your mask?
Oh, sorry. Quels sont les pays dans lesquels vous sentez le plus connecté? Que devrons-nous savoir à propos de besoins de jeunes filles malgré qu'on ne donne pas trop d'attention dans le média à présent? Even though we may not be, though we may not be hearing much about it in the news these days, what countries do you feel a special connection to that we should be aware of in regards to girls' needs?
Great question. So I must say that when it comes to having a special connection to a specific country, I don't necessarily have that. And I say that because I was born in one and now was partially raised and living in another. And so I just feel connected to the world. And so when it comes to girls education around the world, I pretty much just look at, okay, what countries of interest I have and what is it that they need, and I just go from there. I don't necessarily choose as like, okay, this is a country that I want to. It's I will say it's not easy. I am very inclined to my inner tuition and whatever it says, and so that's just how I go about it. I feel like I belong to the world, and whichever country I feel that is calling my name, I do that. So my suggestion would be just look at different countries, do your research, and then if a country speaks to you, then you go from there.
Very good. Davinia, where are you in the world right now?
I am in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay, very cool. So, as you know, we are in Canada, but we are going to take a question now from Sullivan Middle School in Rocket Hill in South Carolina.
Oh,
That was us. We just spoke. That was us.
Oh, really? You're in South Carolina? That is funny. I was there a few months ago.
Okay, we were supposed to invert the question. So then that means we're going back to a question from this school in BC, from Cloverdale Catholic School in Surrey, and ask your question, please.
We'll fix it in editing, madam. No problem. Good job.
Okay, go ahead.
In closing, do you have advice for our young global citizens about our season 2 and our goals to help access to education for girls? Can you tell our audience all over the world what a difference a girl's education can make in their life and why it is an important goal?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you. So my advice to young global citizen is to explore what excites you. If you have something that you are very excited about, I don't think that you should ignore it. You should explore every single aspect. Whatever crazy idea you have, run with it, because you never know. As you can see, I ran with my crazy idea and it has manifested beyond my wildest dreams. Don't worry about the support, because you might not get the support that you want, but trust me, you'll get the support that you need. And I say that because I've seen it. I have experienced it. Also, when it comes to girls' education, it's very important, because when you educate a girl, they will now know the importance of not just educating their sons, but also their girls. They will know the importance of educating all their kids, because one way to end global poverty is through girls' education. And if girls worldwide had that opportunity, I felt like the world would be in a better place for all.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much, Davinia, for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
You are so inspiring. And on behalf of our young global citizens, we thank you for everything you're doing for the young girls across the world who really need help. Thank you very much for your time today. And thank you to all our young global citizens. I let you say goodbye if you want, Davinia, if you want to say the last words.
Of course. It is truly an honor just to be here speaking with you. And I don't say that lightly, because once you follow what ignites your soul, it takes you in rooms or in places that you didn't envision for yourself. And I hope that you will create change, not like me, but like yourself, because doing things your way is your superpower, and the world needs more of that.
Thank you so much, Davinia. Thank you, and goodbye, everybody.
Bye.